And we are back with Dr. Charles Czeisler, Dr. Ted Baker, and James Fadden. Dr. Baker, it occurs to me that for the better part of 16 years now, I've been doing exactly the wrong thing, and that is late at night, sitting under bright lights just before I'm due to go home and go to bed. A lot of people have the possibility of being able to adjust lighting in their lives, and perhaps you can just explain to us how best they should do that.
Yes, Ted, I would like to emphasize that this is not all bad news and that everyone is not to be too disturbed about the invention of electricity and electric light by Thomas Edison. In fact, in our case, we're very excited about Dr. Czeisler's finding, and we're putting them to beneficial use in the workplace. And by that I mean that the struggle that the shift worker and night workers had for years, people in the television industry included, has been to stay awake during the nighttime and then get a good day's sleep. That's been very difficult because of the circadian position of people, which keeps them locked in a daytime phase. What the findings from Dr. Czeisler's laboratory and elsewhere in the world show us is that we can use light as a tool to adjust to the appropriate time. So, for example, a night shift worker, we put lighting into the workplace, which is quite bright, and that gives us a fighting chance against the sun cues from the outside. And as our patient on the program has said, by controlling the light cues on the outside as best possible, we can provide a target to move that rhythm to. And this allows people to get a good day's sleep like they haven't known in the past. And in fact, as Dr. Czeisler's work has shown, and we've shown in the field, we can find people improving their sleep times by 1 or 2 hours per day. And that's very good news for shift workers.
Dr. Czeisler, explain to me what is new and different about your findings, because on one level, we have known this for a long time. I mean, if people are going to go to sleep by day, what they would do is draw the curtains, try and create as much of a night-like atmosphere in their bedroom as possible. But what is it that is new about your discovery?
Well, what we showed in this study was that ordinary household artificial light, not just bright light, that is present between the time that the sun goes down at dusk and the time that we go to bed at night, is actually having a significant resetting effect on this biological clock in the brain. And so in terms of what to do in the future, what people can individually do, setting aside an adequate amount of sleep each night. Most adults need between 8 and 8.5 hours of sleep per night, and kids need even longer. Having a regular bedtime and a regular wake time and trying to maintain it even on weekends is very important. And sleeping in a dark place is important. If you can't fall asleep at night, it's certainly not going to help to switch on the lights and then read, because then the next night it's going to be even tougher to go to sleep at that same time.
Well, actually, in reading some of the research for this program tonight, I was sort of amused to discover that even going to the bathroom at night and turning all the lights on can set all the wrong cues for your circadian rhythm, right?
Well, I don't think a brief exposure to light like that will have much of an impact. But if you habitually, after winding down and maybe watching television in low light in the evening, if you then go into a bathroom that has all these lights arranged around a vanity and flip those on and spend a half an hour doing various things in front of that kind of a light bank, then that could begin to have a significant effect.
Mr. Fadden, it might be helpful to some of our viewers if you could describe what you go through during the day. In other words, what is applicable to people who just have normal sleep disturbances?
Well, something that you just mentioned, I, in my bathroom, in fact, have a dimmer switch on the light in the bathroom, so that if I have to get up at night and use the bathroom, I can turn down to the dimmer switch to the point where I can see my way around, but the light is very dim and therefore probably doesn't affect my circadian rhythms. You can also, you don't have to eliminate, you'll be glad to hear, watching television in the late evening. You can turn down the brightness level on your TV.
And some of the content is actually very conducive to sleep, I think.
that may be in some cases. But most sets will have a knob that can reduce the brightness, and you can reduce it to a level that you can watch in a dim room, but it is not so disturbing in terms of the light's impact.
Dr. Baker, what can someone or should someone do if they really feel intense drowsiness during the day? What about napping?
Well, it's an interesting, you raise an interesting point, and that is that the problems of sleepiness are not restricted to the night shift. One of the problems we've heard in the industrial setting is morning sleepiness after a long weekend of staying up too late, burning the midnight oil. And interestingly enough, you can use the same principle of brighter light exposure in the workplace to help people become more of an early bird by exposing brighter light during the actual work shift on day shifts as well. So I think we're going to see a new age of the biological effects of light being taken into account in the design of workplace lighting for day shift and for night shift. As far as napping goes, I always say there's nothing that beats a good nap. Of course, most people know when they're reaching that period of sleepiness, and that's a good time to ride the wave and catch that nap. For most people, that happens in the afternoon. Many people have called that the afternoon dip or the post-lunch dip.
And what are we talking about? 15 minutes, 20 minutes, half an hour,
well,
an hour? How little can help?
Oh, in some societies, you know, it's become a ritual, and it's an actual siesta that might be a long nap, but a 15-minute nap does wonders. A short 15 to 20-minute nap can go a long way to restore alertness and performance. And in fact,
NASA did a study, Ted, maybe that's what you were about to refer to, in which they showed that napping in the cockpit for air crew that are flying across the oceans can have a significant positive impact on the performance of those crews when they land. But presently it's not permitted by FAA regulations, and I think the government is a little wary about issuing guidelines that would allow pilots to nap because they're afraid of the public reaction, even though it would improve their performance.
Gentlemen, I think on that note, we're just about out of time, but I want to thank each of you, Dr. Czeisler, Mr. Fadden, Dr. Baker. Good of you to be with us.
Thanks very much, Ted.
Appreciate the information. I'll be back in a moment.